Beyond the Waves is a Hail Hail Media production. It may contain sweary words, and adult situations may be discussed. If you're in the company of underage temps, turn off the show now and listen back later. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, email us at beyondthewaves67@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter at BTW Celtic Show, or you can join our group on Facebook at Beyond the Waves. Hail Hail, and keep the faith. Welcome to the Beyond the Waves Celtic Football Show. My name is Graham Wilson, and we have a huge show today. Huge! So if you've got beef, then bring the ruckus. Joining us today will be Seamus Cummins from the newly formed 2nd Street Plowboys CSC in Philadelphia to tell us all about that new club's formation and where to find them and some exciting things on tap for Tuesday. Obviously, no explanation needed. We know it's going to be a welcome back to Barcelona, our old friends from the Catalan region of Spain. So it's going to be good to catch up with Seamus, and it's a special day for him as well. It's his birthday, so we will be able to wish him a happy birthday. Also joining us is Dr. J from the Myrtle Beach Bald Deep CSC, the best named CSC on the planet, in my opinion. We're going to find out exactly how Bald Deep came into creation. Let your mind wander. We'll get the straight story from him. And at the top of the next hour, 6 p.m., we're going to be talking to Hector Bandito from etims.net, which is going to be a treat. Really, honestly, one of the first online media sources that I went to as a Celtic supporter, probably dating myself a bit, but obviously when I got a bit more mental into Celtic, that was certainly one of the first sites that I went to and certainly regularly frequent. So it's going to be good to hear from Hector and the boys there. They have a podcast that's out that's fantastic in its own right and has been a great compliment to their website. So lots of stuff to get in front of. So before we do anything, I think we're joined now by the aforementioned birthday boy, Seamus Cummins. Seamus, you there?
I'm here, Graham. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail. Happy birthday to you, sir.
Thank you.
A nice little 5-2 victory today for your birthday. Lovely.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, can't ask for much more than that. Seamus, as I introduced in the opening of the show, the Plowboys CSC, the 2nd Street Plowboys CSC. Tell us about it. Plow on the Stars, Philadelphia, one of my former locals when I was a resident of Old City in Philadelphia. Tell us about the formation of the club and tell us about the pub, the bar itself, Give the listeners a sense for what the basis behind it and what the atmosphere is going to be like, what the venue's like.
The Plow on the Stars is a great pub in Philadelphia. It's been around probably for about a decade now. Probably one of the best pints of Guinness in the city. Great bar staff, great ownership. Their focus is on all things Irish, and pretty much Irish only. Traditional sessions every Sunday night. They've been doing that almost for a decade. They're right in the shadows of the Irish Memorial, which we've all been to, and anyone who came to Philly for the Real Madrid game there last summer knows what a great venue it is. 2 floors, upstairs, downstairs, 2 big screens. The main big screen is right there in the front of the pub next to the bar. So all the games will be shown on the big screen. The first official game will be shown this Tuesday against Barcelona, and we're expecting a pretty big crowd down there. We got Raymond Coleman from Tyrone's going to play at full time, and the owners of the pub are off. We're going to be having for all you can drink from first kick to last kick. That includes Guinness and a halftime Irish food buffet for $25.
So you can only pull that off. You can only pull it off in America because we are the biggest lightweights ever. Otherwise, you'd absolutely get your shirt handed to you. But you guys are going to be fine with that. Absolutely. So the pub has been very generous and very supportive in letting us, form a club there. And one of the reasons is because they are an Irish pub, and their only focus is Irish sport and, Celtic, with John Joe being one of the barmen there. And so there'll be no EPL matches shown or anything else. And the focus is solely on Celtic when those matches are on. So we don't have to worry about Tuesday worrying about Arsenal playing or Chelsea playing and those sorts of things. So it's exciting. There's a lot of boys from the old Molly Maguires out of Paddy Rooney's who are going to be coming and being members of the club. And it's exciting that, a city like Philadelphia, just like New York, can have multiple clubs. And well, and you've got the boys from a lot of the boys from the suburbs are coming in too, which I think is exciting. There's so many people that are out there, living in Bucks County, Montgomery County, et cetera, who, may watch Celtic TV on their computer early in the morning, and all of a sudden they're thinking, you know what, I'm going to start coming in. You've got Yampy down in South Jersey, you've got Sean Brennan up in Bucks County, up there with that half a fan, Liverpool fan, whatever, Bam Bam, or oh, I kid Bam Bam. But you mentioned John Joe there. Tell us a little bit about John Joe and his background. I mean, and specifically to, we alluded to that Real Madrid friendly last year. I mean, I practically lived at the Plow, other than, obviously going over to Fidel as well.
Right.
But, he was formative in that weekend and making a lot of things happen. I'll be honest with you. When I lived in Philadelphia, when I lived in Old City, I was hesitant. If I was out on a date, I was hesitant to take the girl that I was with to the Plow on the Stars, simply because frequently the comment would be, about how good looking the bartenders were. It was like, yep, no, we're out of here. I can't have that. But tell us a little bit about John Joe, his background, and, and just, a little bit about him, because I know that he's a big part of this as well.
Yeah, this is the brainchild of, John Joe, and he's been in the States now for probably 10 or 15 years. He originally from just outside, Celtic Park in Glasgow, and he's got great connections with Celtic and with, the local Irish community. When he first came out, he was down in Palm Beach. That's why he's Palm Beach Boy on Twitter. And he, there's Celtic Club down there in the pub that he used to work at down there, and he's been Celtic supporter since birth. And it was just a natural progression. He came here up to Philadelphia, and with the weekend when Celtic came over to play Real Madrid, he was instrumental in planning most of the events, and he single-handedly got Charlie and the boys out to come and play the Plow on the Stars, which, as anyone who was in there either night knows, the place was absolutely rocking.
Mental.
Both nights, and the ownership saw that, and the one owner, the Celtic fan themselves, saw that as, we would love to have that kind of atmosphere here often, and we had a great atmosphere for the Scottish Cup final there, and we had a great atmosphere for the Cliftonville game, and so it was decided at that point, like, hey, let's give this a go, and just do things a little bit differently, and always think about first thing first. Everything that we do has to be keep with Celtic in mind. So one of the things that we're going to be championing as a club is it's all about giving back. So over the summer of the event, when Real Madrid was out, we sold shirts at the Plow, and the Plow donated all that money to the Cano Foundation. So we're going to be looking every month or every couple months to do some sort of a fundraiser for different Celtic charities and give back to the Celtic community.
That's great.
From Cano to the Oscar Knox appeal and the charity fund that's now run by Tony Hamilton, we're going to be looking to do all that. So we're going to be meeting on Tuesday to discuss all those things prior to the match. So we're really, really excited. And if you're in Philadelphia, you have two great places that you can go and watch a game.
Absolutely.
So it's nice.
Absolutely. You have the Fido CSC, of course, and now the 2nd Street Plowboys CSC, located at 2nd Chestnut, the Plow and the Stars. It's a fantastic venue. Even if you're not going for a game, exceptional food and the atmosphere is always good as well. So looking forward to that. I was there at the Scottish Cup. I saw the atmosphere, and it's definitely sure to please. You mentioned Raymond Coleman. That's exciting news as well. Might we get a song or two sung by yourself? Because I know that a lot of people who turn up for that. Listen, you are the ambassador. They're turning up. They want to hear you sing, and you have. I mean, listen. People go to see Billy Joel to hear Piano Man. They go to see Seamus Cummins to hear Honda 50. Might we hear some Honda 50 on Tuesday?
I could pretty much guarantee that.
Excellent stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll be up and having a few songs, and looking forward to Big Martin bringing his Celtic mobile down to the city. So we'll be posting some photos of all the events at Plowboys CSC on Twitter.
Great stuff.
And so we're very excited. We're very excited, and I'll actually be down there tonight at the Plow for a few birthday pints.
Fantastic.
So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Fantastic. Enjoy it, and give my best to John Joe, as always. Just a testament to how the club grows in this country. We're setting up new CSCs all the time because the passion's there, and we're uniting. We're all coming together. It's fantastic. Seamus, all the best with it. Anything that I can do to lend support, please let me know. And please enjoy your birthday.
I will.
Before we let you go, did you have a chance to see the game this morning? I know that you're running around.
Yeah, I got to see I got to see up until about the 60th minute. I had a match that I had to coach this morning at 40 minutes away. So my oldest kept me informed of the goals as they were rattling in there. But my only complaint was we go up 3-0 and then we take the foot off the pedal and we bomb scare at the back, giving up those 2 goals.
Yeah.
And then after that, unfortunately, I didn't get to see anything else of it. But
I was going to say it was a good thing you turned it off when you did.
And so I was excited when I saw that Sammy got his hat trick, and I saw that Bobo's son scored the 5th goal.
Oh yeah,
which is good. And
if that was Bobo's son, he'd throw him in the Clyde.
Quick question for you. Quick question for you. Why did we sign him? That game on the other night was calling out for a big guy like him, and 27 corners and no goals. I can't even begin to start on that one.
I'd like to know who signed them, because clearly it was not Neil Lennon. I'm not sure. Up until he scored the goal, we're looking around saying,
was it from a corner?
No, it was from open play. He did take. He took the ball down the park. Granted, he was up against mostly 15 and 16-year-olds from Kilmarnock off of the bench. But nonetheless, he did take his goal well, and hopefully it can build some confidence in him. That's twice now that he's scored in the past, I believe, the past 2 appearances he's had. So hopefully, Neil Lennon can figure a way to get him into the starting 11 and get the most production out of him. But there were a lot of concerning things, a lot of concerning aspects of this game. Looking ahead to Tuesday. One more question, and then we'll let you go, because I know that you have the Waynes and all that. Looking ahead to Tuesday, are you optimistic? What are you expecting? And what's your sort of scoreline prediction?
To be honest with you, I'm expecting us to worst case scenario draw. That's my worst case scenario. if we get 27 corners, we're definitely going to win the game.
Well,
but
I mean, if last season, if
we're
last
due to score from a we're due to score from a corner, so why not? If we're going to score from a corner, why not it be against Barcelona?
Well, the comment came out in the pub today was like, maybe the direction is don't get any corners, because I think we only had 2 corners the entire day today. I mean, they were few and far between. That much is certain. But you're right. I mean, we do still have that height advantage. We still have, the leg up, if you will, from an aerial perspective. It's going to come down to set pieces, and it's going to come down to taking advantage of any mistakes that Barcelona could possibly make. I mean, those are rare enough in and of themselves, but we saw from Tony Watt's goal last year that Xavi doesn't make many errors, maybe once in every 5 years. But when Tony Watt got that opportunity, he put it away. We're going to have a situation like that. We're going to have to be clinical at set pieces, much better than 0 for 27 against Morton, and we're going to have to take advantage of opportunities when we get them. But fingers crossed we can get through and get the result. I know the atmosphere is going to be absolutely fantastic. So, and the atmosphere is going to be great at Plow the Stars again. Tuesday, it's going to be 2:45 local time, but get there early, get a good spot, and the crack will be 90.
Absolutely, and I'm going to go with a cheeky 1-0 to Celtic.
Ah, lovely. Okay.
And it's going to be scored by Chris Commons. Heard it here first.
Good shout. I think of anybody who has sort of that potent goal scoring acumen in the side just now. He's definitely at the top of the list in terms of most lethal, so I definitely see that. Seamus, thanks so much for calling in, and like I said, all the best with the new 2 Street Plowboys CSC in Philadelphia. It's the 2nd and Chestnut at Plow and the Stars, so check it out when you're in Philadelphia. And happy birthday, pal.
Thanks a million. G, we'll talk to you soon.
All the best.
Hell.
Cheers. That is, I call him the Elvis of Donegal. I mean, if you're going to have Vegas in Donegal, Vegas has to have Elvis. And that boy can sing. Me, on the other hand, I can't sing at all. It's awful. And we're going to get a little dose of that shortly here when my buddy Dr. J calls in from Baw Deep. I'm going to get to the bottom of the naming of said club. It does leave a lot to the imagination, so hopefully we can clear that up as well. 5-2 today against Kilmarnock. Neil Lennon playing in a 4-2-4. A bit of a throwback back to the days of Jock Steen. I mean, obviously you can say that Sammy's playing a midfield role. You can say that Commons is playing a midfield role, but they have absolutely no defensive responsibilities. They don't track back. So they're not going to take on any sort of defensive initiative, and therefore it leaves the flanks completely exposed. And then you only have Scott Brown and Charlie Mulgrew having to take up all the space in the middle of the park. I thought it was overly aggressive. I would be shocked if we went out with something that would be similar to that against Barcelona. I think it would border on suicidal. I think that it renders our fullbacks essentially useless. You have Adam Matthews and Izagiri, who, I mean, let's be honest, Matthews is the better of the fullbacks defensively, but going forward, I think that they're both up to the task. But when you leave that much space exposed on the flanks, they have to stay disciplined. They can't get forward as much, and that limits our width. Sammy likes to cut in, and so does Commons. So, we don't have that ability to stretch the defense. Things get a bit congested in the middle, and that's what we saw with a lot of that frustration throughout the game. Combine that with what was, in my opinion, a lack of focus, lots of slack passing, and the first touch on essentially everybody was not up to par. Anthony Stokes, for me, I was quite disappointed in. It seemed a bit lazy, seemed a bit out of focus, out of kilter. Finding himself offside repeatedly, that's the knock on Anthony Stokes. Historically, he needs to do better in terms of being aware of his positioning and working harder to get back onside, because he's the one that's really going to have to take advantage of these opportunities. If we're going to be pumping balls into the box and he's offside, forget it. It's just not going to happen. So I'm delighted with the result. I mean, 3 points is 3 points. We put 5 goals up on the board, but let's be honest, we were dangerous when Kilmarnock had to bring on their kids, okay? Amito Balde comes in. First touch for me was absolutely atrocious, on multiple situations. He seemed a bit confused a lot of the time, and, but he did score the goal, and hopefully, like I said, that can push him on, with some confidence for himself, not just for himself, but also for Neil Lennon. because Neil Lennon is going to need all of the ideas and the options that he can possibly get. We do not have a goal-scoring poacher at the moment, and that's a huge, huge concern for this team. We've been saying it for weeks, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Before we do that, let's welcome from the Myrtle Beach Ball Deep CSC. That's right, you heard it correctly. Ball Deep. It's Dr. J. Dr. J, hail, hail.
Hail, hail, Graham.
Now, first off, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. And for the listeners, we're going to amend the show a bit, or I guess we're going to expand it a bit. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback for Dr. J and his calling in. You have, I think, a good sense for the game in general, and I think that you have opinions based on fact, and you're not afraid to debate and mix it up, and I like that. What we're going to hopefully do in the future is have you on a regular basis or a semi-regular basis as your travel schedule will allow, because what I want to do going forward is inject more of an American aspect throughout the world. I mean, people all over the world are listening to this. So I want to get, some of the folks who are regular callers, yourself, Yampi, and many others onto the show so that we can, reflect a lot of that. So I appreciate you joining me today. Now I have some audio fanfare for you, because as listeners of the show from way back know, when we do welcome, new principals, new partners into the show, they have to have some fanfare. Yampi has his already. Now you have yours. So are you ready?
Let's hear it.
I'm telling you. Let me just prepare you. This is absolutely mind-blowingly awful. All right, here we go. Doctor, give me the news. I'm going ball deep because of you. We're gonna breach in Myrtle Beach. I'm going ball deep because of you. Wow. See, now, people are going ball deep because of you. You're like the Barry White of podcasts.
Thank you.
That's got to be an ego boost. Here, now Rev has two of them. I made another one for you, just in case. You can choose, and then I'll naturally select the one that you don't like the most. Here's another one for you. I hear the secrets that you keep when you're talking to Ball Deep. I hear the secrets that you keep when you're talking to Ball Deep. Wow, so you have, I mean, how can we not have you on the show now? You have the power, you cause people to go ball deep, and then you have the power, you're like the conduit that can read other people's minds. This is amazing. So, can you
use the word conduit and ball deep at the same time?
I think that's definitely a first.
Thank God this isn't on regular radio. The FCC's all over you.
Fantastic stuff. Well, thank you for joining us today. Dr. J, let me first off, I was just talking about the game. Did you have a chance to watch the game? What were your impressions?
Yeah, I watched it, got up this morning, watched it. It was good. I mean, the first 3 or 4 minutes, we weren't necessarily in it. The next 20 minutes, we destroyed them. And then I think, and I know we chatted about this earlier yesterday, I think the biggest thing is, if we're going to discuss anything about the game, I think there's a turning point. And to me, the whole game turned on Scott Brown's miss. Mm-hmm. If we go 4-0, Philly pulls up the stakes, folds the tent, goes home. Yeah. If he connects, and there's no reason for him to miss that at all. He's by himself. He's to the keeper's left. He needs to just bury that. He buries that, and then that's the end of the game. The game's over. Yeah. And then we go back down. We have another honest mistake by the man in black, and the guy who trips himself, handles the ball, gets awarded a free kick.
I know.
And listen, and God bless him, because I mean he made Frazier. I mean he hit it outside the post, curled it in. I mean Frazier had no business making a save, and he didn't. So it is what it is. But that turned the game. That one thing, he missed the chance. They go down, they score, and then they play some 1-2 in the box, and that's what happens. So I mean, it's one of those things. I think that, to me, if there was one point in time in which I shouldn't have had to wait for Sammy. The second turning point was Sammy's goal, third goal, which he was marginally, from what I saw on TV, offside there too.
Agreed.
So, I mean, if you're looking at the turning point, it's Bruni's miss and then Sammy's offside goal for the third one. Chastise me if you think he was onside. That's fine.
No,
but either way, it was close. And I think, and then from there, I have a funny story. My son and I were watching the game. The second half, he got up and we're on our way, and Balde's going down the right side, and I'm screaming, pass, and it scared my poor son. He's like, pass.
I think everybody was saying it at the same time.
and it's sad. I read all the tweets about it afterwards, and there was two tweets that there was one tweet I put out there that I had to laugh, and it was the 4 or 5 minutes beforehand. He was absolute pish. He just was.
Yeah. I
mean, he just was before the goal. He was, and he got a roasting on Twitter for it. That's fine.
Sure.
But what was funny, I put out there, I was like, how many slaggers are out there? They pulled a hamstring running backwards from their tweet. Oh, you're so great now. That's cool. I'm with you. I get it.
I was yelling out, sell. Somebody put a YouTube video together and sell them quick.
Sell them. And what's funny was the whole entire time, there's only one thing I could think of, and no one mentioned this on Twitter, and I was going to put it out there, but I decided to save it for you. It was an absolute ride. All I could think of was that stupid movie Goal, when the guy Santi, he wants to dribble through everybody, and the pass the ball. You can't. That's all you think of. That stupid movie where the kid's from Mexico and he, from LA, and he goes to Newcastle, becomes a star, or whatever.
Listen, bringing you into the fold is already paying dividends. You just put out a Santi reference from Goal. I absolutely love it.
But that's what it was, weren't you? I mean, think about it now. Was that the same thing? Aren't you screaming pass?
Yeah. Well, he had Stokes trailing there, and he was completely unmarked. And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. If he puts that wide, I think everybody in the stands is going to jump down and tackle him. But he did, and he put it away, and fair enough to him. I'm trying to. Everybody points me out as being Mr. Negative. I'm trying to find the positive in it and say, hopefully he can find some confidence, and Lennon can start to find a way to get him into the side, because as you and I have discussed, I mean, we're a bit shorthanded in terms of that clinical goal-scoring poacher type striker. Pookie is not that player. I think today, and especially the game against Morton, really evidenced that.
I'm beginning to see that. I was hoping these 2 goals would help, but the last 2 games really have not shown that. Now, granted, I mean, I don't want to be the same guy who's slagging Balde early this morning. Oh, he's this, he's that. I mean, give him time and see what happens. But I mean, to be fair, Lenny was up front with us and said, hey, listen, the guy's going to need time. And if Balde needs time, Balde needs time. But, if he's been on and scored goals, and that's cool. And I hope he scores 100. Like, I've seen you tweet before. Listen, I don't think Pookie's the guy, but I hope he scores 150 goals.
Exactly.
Or was that, I think Paul said that the other day.
Exactly.
But I'm with you 100%. Whoever scores, just get it in there. I don't care if Virgil scores 100 goals. Just someone score 100 goals for us, please.
Exactly right. Now, let me ask you another question, and we're looking ahead, obviously, to Barcelona. 5-2. I think the scoreline flattered us to a tremendous degree. Neil Lennon comes out after the game and says that Georgios Samaras was world class. Quite frankly, I think that's beyond hyperbole. We're playing up against Kilmarnock. They have 3 points in the league so far, and they were playing mostly 15-year-olds. So we have to take this for what it is. Are you nervous?
Don't forget, and Rabiu.
Oh, yeah.
He was the world's best celebration guy in the world.
I think, he just stayed at Rugby Park after we won the league that one year. But let me ask you, I'm sort of projecting here. Are you a bit nervous, given the result today flattering us that maybe, we're going to have a false sense of security, whistle past the graveyard a bit going up into this game against Barcelona? I'm a bit nervous, that maybe we're going to take a false sense of security, and we absolutely cannot do that. Going up into this game against Barcelona, think back to last season. When we were going up against Barcelona, our league form was absolutely atrocious. It seemed like everybody was just, they were as focused as they possibly could be, because they knew that, they needed to have the game of their lives. Do you have any sort of reservations or anxiety around that theme?
Well, I mean, if you're thinking atrocious, just think back to Tuesday, and that's enough in my rearview mirror to remember Tuesday as atrocious. So if you want to say that game is atrocious and maybe they picked it up and they realized, But then again, the middle of this game was atrocious anyway. I mean, from the 30th minute to the 80th minute, they were atrocious. So I don't know. I think if I were to use what I would call the analogy of the day, I think the one thing that bothers me is, and how can I put this without offending people? I think watching FA play and go forward and do nothing is like hanging out with people who dance on poles. It's a great place to go hang out, great place to talk shite, and then after that, nothing happens. He goes forward, he looks around, goes, "Oh, I shouldn't be here," and then turns around and passes the ball back.
Yes.
and I think, I mean, he's dare I say, he is not blue steel. He does not penetrate at all.
No green steel.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean blue pill, blue steel. Anyway, so you follow me?
I got you.
The Pfizer blue pill.
Of course.
But my point is that as far as that goes, I mean, he's the one person that I'm most worried about. He gave the ball away today. He passed the ball to the Killy striker. The Killy striker was so surprised. It bounced off him like it came off a brick wall. He could not believe he passed the ball to him, and it went right back to him, and he passed the ball away.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's adventurous at times, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he walks around with a glass, the piece of glass on his chest is break in case of emergency. He's a fire scare.
Yeah.
He's a fire alarm. He's a bomb scare. He bothers me. Now, granted, he's approaching pre-African Cup of Nations status. And he hasn't been as bad as after the African Cup of Nations. But I'll tell you this, he just scares me.
Yeah, it just seems like he's good. It's similar to Leuven's, where he's good for one bomb scare a game, and when you go up against Barcelona, it's absolutely lethal. Now, granted, we're going up against his old friend Leo Messi, who probably just got out of his back pocket. And I'm just getting word now that Messi was taken off with an injury in the 27th minute of their game today. So it doesn't seem like it's overly serious. It seems like it's this nagging thigh injury that he seems to have on an ongoing basis. I think they're probably pulling him off as a precaution and trying to prepare for Tuesday, but you never know. So obviously, if Messi comes off, then the Barcelona attack runs through Neymar. I mean, we're gonna have our hands full no matter what. But F.A. Ambrose hopefully can build on the confidence from last season up against Barcelona, where, in my opinion, he had in both of those legs probably his two best games wearing a Celtic shirt. So hopefully that can fill him with a lot of confidence and sort of good vibes going forward. Now let's talk about another aspect that I don't think is being picked up enough, and that's in the midfield just now. We always talk about how deep we are in the midfield, and obviously midfield takes up a lot of different characters. You have central midfielders, you have attacking, sort of central players, you have wingers, and you have holding midfielders. Right now we are very, very we don't have a lot of depth, which is amazing at that holding midfielder spot. And I think we're going to need an extra man for that. And it's probably going to have to be Brem Kayal, because we don't have any other option. Joe Ledley's not going to be available. It seems as though Kayal has gotten himself back to fitness, in spite of the fact that he didn't even make the bench today. But, I've heard a lot of calls for, well, you can have Commons and Sammy on each one of the flanks and then have Mulgrew and Brown in the midfield. That's essentially the same formation that we saw against Kilmarnock today, and Kilmarnock was able to exploit huge swaths of space. If we do that against Barcelona, we're dead.
Actually, let's be honest, Graham. There's no way in the world we're going to have that much possession. Next week, we're just not. And that being the case, we cannot afford to have Charlie in the middle of the field, because they will run rings around him as if he was like stuck in concrete.
We don't have another choice, though. We don't have. I mean, if Charlie doesn't play in midfield, who's going to play? I mean, Kayal, we're going to need three big bodies in the middle. It's going to be Scott Brown, obviously. I think Charlie Mulgrew has to go there. I mean, he just because Ledley's out, we don't have Wanyama again, and we can talk all day long. I think that Hooper is probably in the long term going to be a bigger miss for us than Wanyama. But when we're going up against the Barcelonas and these European sides, Victor Wanyama was the most important player for us throughout the Champions League, and especially against Barcelona. We haven't replaced him, and I've said all along it's impossible to replace him, especially on a short-term basis. But nonetheless, the fortitude and the steel that he would bring to the middle of the park is lacking, and we're going to need to put a body there. I think, Charlie Mulgrew is going to have to play that Busquets role just in front of the center halves, giving an extra layer of protection. And, the only player that's left, and we're not going to put Baton out there. I mean, after he looked a bit shaky against Morton, I think it's going to have to be Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're gonna trust the Barcelona game to Baton, I don't think you have a choice.
Can't do it. Yeah.
I don't think you really do. I mean, looking at it from the perspective of, who do we have that's healthy? Ledley right now is a huge miss, and
huge.
And unless Matthews just did his impression of that Louis Tomlinson dude, and just to get off the pitch that day because he didn't feel like he belonged there.
Yeah, he pulled a Donovan McNabb is what he did.
Exactly, and I mean, because I have no problem putting Matthews in front of Lustig.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Yeah,
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But the problem is Matthews is going to get bossed off the ball, and Matthews needs the ball to be able to run at people, and we're just not going to have the ball to run at people.
Although, to be fair, Matthews against Barcelona last year, playing at left back, probably
put in. Back.
I mean,
different.
He put in one of the best defensive performances I might have ever seen.
He did, but he played left back. He didn't play. You play right midfield in front of Lustig.
Yeah.
Left back, and that's going to be the big thing. And don't forget, we won that game without Hooper.
Yep.
So.
Which for me is why the key to the game is going to be Leonard's decision about who he puts in the middle of the park. Yeah, absolutely, exactly. And we saw two examples of what I just described. Set pieces, Victor Wanyama, absolute class, putting away a header early doors and really calming the nerves, getting the crowd absolutely ballistic, nuclear ballistic for the rest of the game. And Tony Watt, obviously capitalizing on, the once every time Haley's comment comes around that Xavi makes an error, and he put it away. Those are going to be the keys this time around.
Oh my God! Did he step all over himself with golf shoes on? That one play. Oh my God! When next time he goes to the bathroom, it's going to look like a sprinkler. Yeah, he was. That's got to be one of the biggest gaffes I've ever seen in a big moment right there. Poor Xavi. Oh well. Anyway, too bad for him.
I'm not going to feel bad for Xavi.
No.
the guy's got more silverware than anybody's business. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about Ball Deep. Okay, how did you come up with the title, the name of the Myrtle Beach Celtics Supporters Club, Ball Deep? Were you Ball Deep? When you came up with the name, you're like, oh, what am I going to name this? Oh, I know, Ball Deep. How did it come about?
No, that wasn't. No, actually, as you and I have gone back and forth, if you called me the American version of a Hun before, I'm a Yankee fan, and was born in New York City, like what 90% of the Puerto Ricans that I was born in New York City, and it is what it is, and always been a Yankee fan. I played quote unquote soccer through high school. My son plays, and I love hanging out with him, but. What happened was he's a goalkeeper, and I play goalkeeper too. So I wanted to get him some cool shirts, and I just happened to go on eBay, and I bought some shirts on eBay, and they didn't come for whatever reason. And I emailed the guy, and it just so happened, hey, listen, you a Celtics supporter? I'm like, well, I know who Henrik Larsson is, but after that, that's about all I got. And he said, oh, you should join me on Facebook. I'm like, okay, fine. So after a couple of weeks of chatting back and forth and reading things and everything else, he's like, hey, you should come to a game. I'm like, okay. So after chatting with all these guys, I get on a plane and get off the plane, and there's 4 of them from Port Glasgow there. And those guys, I'm telling you.
Wait, this is from a guy that you met in New York?
No, a guy I met on eBay.
On eBay?
Yeah, Graham, eBay. And they have become family friends. I mean, we've been to weddings, we've been to christenings, we've been over for cup finals, I've been to Ibrox. I mean, stuff I couldn't do unless I had that connection. And it has made me, I wouldn't say it, the club's my first love. Obviously the Yankees were the first one as a kid growing up in the city. But it's the longest lasting. I think I connect more with the reason and the people and the passion and everything else than with the Yankees. So, I mean, it's turned into... the most I've watched the Yankees this year was the last inning of Rivera. Yeah, that was it. That's the most I watched, and I recorded that just so I could have it, so I could show it to Max later on. But that's the most I've watched all season. But the Celtics on, I'll literally like Tuesday, I was in a doctor's office and I was doing some consulting work, and I said, "Hey, listen, we're done at noon today." I was in Peoria, Illinois, and I said, "We're done today at noon today." He's like, "Oh, are we really?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're done at noon." He's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay."
Yeah,
I'll be back at 5.
Yeah.
He's like, "What?" "I'll be back at 5. I gotta go." And like hauled ass all the way back to my hotel room, and like sat there just saying, "Oh, I should have just stayed at the doctor's office and worked. This is stupid."
I know.
But literally, that's all it is. So, I mean, that's how it came up. So I was over in Port Glasgow with my buddies, Kevin and John and Ryan and Stevie and all these guys and Kevin and whatever. And I have one friend, John, who just, when he likes to just scream out, "Buddy!" That's all he does. He sits in the corner, and hammers down Strongbow and starts saying "Buddy." So I said, we're just laughing, but you should name it that. I'm like, okay. Because the funny part is, over here, no one knows what that means.
Exactly.
So, I mean, so I started that, and then friends are just like, "Oh, that's really cool." And the funny part is, around my buddies in the port, they're just, they go to events, or they go to the pub, and they're like, hey, have you seen that? Is that for real? That Myrtle Beach? They're like, "Oh yeah, it's my mate." They're like, "No way." So, I decided to make stickers and hand them out, and I created a little game with all my buddies over there. I was like, whoever puts it in the coolest place, I'll give them a ticket to come to the U.S. and hang out in Myrtle Beach. And so far, the winner so far is a friend of mine, Barry. He went to Lisbon and went to the old stadium.
Wow.
And there's a picture on my Twitter feed. If you go to my Twitter feed, the MB Body, a picture of him sitting right where Caesar stood holding the trophy.
Wow.
With the sticker right there on the platform. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But it cracks me up. A couple of weeks ago, I had some guy say, "Hey, is this you?" And it was, someone left this in my house. Someone actually has a bar in his basement, and and I have no idea who the guy is or what the connection is. The sticker ended up somewhere, because when I go over, I just leave stickers with friends,
Sure.
and they just end up places. I mean, yeah, sure. I've mailed stickers to Belfast. I've mailed them to Dublin. That's how I ended up meeting Chris. Throckmorton.
Sure.
And then when I hung out with him, he wanted some. I sent you some. I sent Yankee some. It's a blast. I just get a kick out of it, and but it's turned into that, and it's been really, really cool. But that's where the name came from, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. To ride the bus over and to do the scream back and forth. They let me lead the cheer on the bus, and instead of saying Glasgow's green and white, I'm like, Myrtle Beach is green and white, and I have 180 people screaming Myrtle Beach is green and white on the bus.
That's fantastic.
It is an absolute ride. It's priceless. I mean, you could have any other experience you want, and I would take that one over anything. I love those guys, and I wouldn't trade them for anything.
But you're so right. I mean, I so identify with what you're talking about. I mean, I'm from Philly, so yeah, insert joke now. I'm a 4-for-4 Philly sports fan, and obviously Philly people have a neurosis with the relationship to the local sporting franchises, entities, whatever you want to call them. But it's nothing like what I feel for Celtic. What I feel like in terms of a belonging, in terms of a connection to so many people, and to be connected based on that ethos. What it all means. It's not geographic. It's tribal in nature, but it's based on these morals and these values that are just so pure and so. For me, they're so endearing, and it just transcends things. And when you have experiences like you described, going over there and leading chants and being welcome like that, it's something that for us over here. I mean, obviously nobody over here knows what ball deep is, but nobody over here really can understand until they actually see it and experience it. Which is
I'm with you. I mean, Graham, I'm right now. I'm driving my son up to his game. I mean, we got a 3-hour drive up from Myrtle Beach to Columbia to go watch a game, and I have my son's teammate and his father in the car with me, and we were talking earlier, and I'm trying to explain the difference between a Yankee Red Sox game or going to watch a Clemson Carolina, or I was with Chris to go to see Georgia South Carolina a couple weeks ago, and you don't understand what it is.
It's incomparable.
To have police board your bus, check for everything, put you in a section, and then march you to Ibrox.
Yeah,
There's just nothing like it. If you've never had that happen to you, and I didn't,
it's incomparable.
You just don't know. And and we had the best time ever. We with a couple of last year, 2 years ago, we went to the Cup final on St. Patrick's Day. Was against Killy, right? Or St. Mary and Killy. And I didn't bring a change of shirt. We lost, and my buddy's like, "Hey, listen, you got to change your shirt." I'm like, "No, I didn't. I just wear my jersey."
Yeah. I think he's still with us. The connection's going in and out. Dr. J, let me ask you one more question if you're still with me. Are you there? We lost him. He's driving probably up I-20 through South Carolina. And, it tends to be slightly rural. So maybe we'll give him a minute to try and get back in touch. I love that sort of discussion because I so identify with it. And I think that's really important for us to really capitalize on, this opportunity that we have with this show is to, communicate things like this more frequently. So, I think Dr. J is going to be a really great, addition on a regular basis to get his thoughts and his feedback. You can tell, that he's passionate about the club and he knows his stuff. So, obviously the more of that we can have, the better. And just to supplement, sort of my experience going over to see Celtic Park, that was the one question that I wanted to ask him before letting him go was, I want to know, what his thoughts were the first time he saw Celtic Park. I mean, obviously I've described it, and it's an incredibly moving experience, and I think it's unique, and it's always entertaining to hear, the American perspective, or even, someone from, out with Scotland or even Ireland, what their experience is like the first time that they see Celtic Park as a supporter. And as you can tell, I'm still struggling with this cough or this cold or whatever, so I have to apologize. But wait, what can you do? Now joining in, right on cue, is the Rev.
Hello.
My follically challenged compatriot. My
follically challenged.
No, follically.
Oh, follically. Okay.
Yeah, my compatriot, my countryman.
How you doing?
We're having an audio fanfare type day today, so
I heard.
Yeah, it's. I don't want to leave you out. Follically challenged. We already talked about that. He's a skinhead. A good guy. Skinhead. Hit the high note. Good Lord. You do this stuff and you think it's kind of funny, after a couple of beers and like, oh yeah, that's going to go over well. And then you listen to it and it's like, I need to check myself in someplace.
He's available for children's parties, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, keep your kids away. Self-explanatory. Did you see the game this morning?
A bit. I was distracted because apparently at some point over the last couple of days, my Twitter and stuff, not hacked, but I lost my information, so I was distracted trying to regain access. Were
you favoriting like porno sites and somebody called you out on it? Is that really what happened? And you're just going to use like the my Twitter got hacked excuse? Is that what's going on? Don't even lie like you do a lot. Tell me.
I was I'm running for office. I met an intern. Accidentally sent some pics.
Lovely.
No, I don't know what happened. So it was early in the morning and I was angry. So I tried to right the wrong in the middle of the game.
Well, the score line obviously is something to be desired, I guess. 5-2, obviously, Sammy with the hat trick. I'll be honest with you, Rev. I was not. It's weird. It was a strange one where, we walked out of the pub today. And I was like, that did not feel like we scored 5 goals. I mean, it was just.
Right.
We went up against a really, really bad Kilmarnock side. A Kilmarnock side that if they went up against. Us last season when we were, sort of everybody was on form, we could have put up 8 or 9 or even 10 goals. That's how bad this Kilmarnock side was, and I'm nervous, big time. I mean, obviously I'm Mr. Negative, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of feedback about, all you ever do is moan. Well, that's true. If there wasn't so much bullshit to moan about, I probably would stop.
Right.
But but the bottom line is, I'm not. Listen, if somebody wants to have sunshine blown up their ass, I'm just not going to do it. It's just an honest assessment. I have real concerns going into Tuesday. Now we're hearing that Javi is actually injured, so they're falling like flies. So I'm concerned about how we can possibly line up. I mean, granted, we didn't. I was mentioning this a little bit with Dr. J. We don't have the personnel that we did last year. I think, the most important player that we had for the Champions League. Yeah, I mean, you can break down our losses in sort of categories. You have Gary Hooper, who I think is a bigger loss comprehensively and especially domestically. But Victor Wanyama is going to be the biggest miss by far in these Champions League games because he can cover so much space. He reads the game so well. And it doesn't matter who you partner next to him. They're going to be fine. It seems as though, with the other central midfield partnerships, there has to be certain personnel matched up in order for it to click and work just right. Think back to, when Key was around, Key and Ledley never really worked together, but you put Key next to Scott Brown, and for some reason it worked. Ledley and Brown next to each other, have done quite well, so far this season. Brown and Kyle have done pretty well so far, and Kyle and Ledley, had a good partnership. But when that partnership isn't synchronized and it isn't flowing together, it can cause you real problems, especially when you're going up against the side that likes to move the ball and is going to possess all of the ball like Barcelona, and I've huge concerns about it. I don't think there's any way that we can avoid playing Berham Kayal on Tuesday, because we don't have that holding sort of basher in the midfield that can replace Joe Ledley.
I was thinking about this. I was just listening to you guys on the road while I was just driving, and I'm not 100% endorsing this. I'm not totally comfortable with it, but it's a thought. What about, because you're talking about, you have to put Mulgrew in the midfield, or if you're going to put him on the pitch, why not put pair Mulgrew and Van Dijk together, and say put F. Ambrose in the middle? I know that kind of solves the problem and creates a new problem or a new concern.
I don't know. I don't. You know what? I'll be honest with you, Rev. I don't think that's the worst idea I've ever heard, and I'll tell you why. I think F. Ambrose, he tends to get a bit adventurous. We'll just leave it at that. But he can put in a tackle, and obviously if we're going to put him in the midfield, his primary role is going to be defensively. So if he does go off on one of these daydreams and he does give away the ball, it's not like, we're setting up somebody 1v1 versus the keeper. Now, with that being said, he had some of his best games in a Celtic shirt playing center half, and it seems as though him and Van Dijk have formed this partnership. So it may be over tinkering to a certain extent, but to that point, I think you're right in terms of it puts Mulgrew in a better spot. That puts him in position to be able to be more effective, and I think that it limits Ambrose's exposure to the mistakes that he makes. But it still doesn't address the fact that we don't have another player, and we're going to need another player that can fulfill that role. Dr. J was saying maybe put Matthews in midfield on that right-hand side, and then you can have Sammy over on the left, and Matthews can act as sort of a makeshift central midfielder. I think that he's quite good in the tackle. He can be very good defensively as well as getting forward. But, when you're talking about a situation where Adam Matthews is going to have many opportunities to get forward, why would you use him then? Why wouldn't you just put Kyle in? I guess, the concern with Kyle is he's a yellow card waiting to happen, and he's not as disciplined in the tackle. It's a conundrum, as we're talking here.
No, definitely. And it's, we all knew that Hooper was leaving. We all knew that Wanyama was leaving in the summer. And I guess that was, the gamble part 2 of, Peter Lowell or whoever is making the decisions, releasing funds for transfers, that, we could get by again without really, making any large purchases, someone to replace them. So, and this is, yes, it worked for us for qualifying, but, it seems like it might come back and bite us in the ass, this round.
Yeah. Well, we purchased we purchased the center half who had a history of just chronically being injured. We got him as a trialist and signed him on a free for very cheap, and now we're surprised that he's out for the season with another injury. Okay. Then we signed, two strikers, I guess 2.5 if you want to talk about Berwichter, who none of which were poachers, which is what we're giving up with Gary Hooper, a quite potent poacher. And now we're surprised because we can't score goals from our forward position. Let me ask you this. I was going to save this, but I'll ask you now, and then we'll pick it up again later. I saw a post on one of the message boards that I thought was a very salient point, and I think it's one that it's valid and deserves to be investigated. We have members of this coaching staff under Neil Lennon for every position on the park except for striker, except for forward. We've got goalkeepers coach, we got Danny McGreen, we got Neil Lennon, Johan Mjalby. I mean, who is talking to these strikers? Who's managing them? Who's coaching them? Trying to develop them? Because it seems to me that we have these repetitive issues. We have these repetitive situations. We have Scott Brown and Charlie McGrew in the midfield. That's basically our midfield today. And you have 4 people in front of them that aren't moving. They're statues. So, and this is a repetitive thing. Even when Gary Hooper was here, we had issues with sort of a pedestrian approach up top. Nobody's looking to peel off defenders and things of that nature. Think back to, several years ago when Henrik Larsson came back before we played Aberdeen and, worked with some of our strikers, Anthony Stokes and Gary Hooper at the time. We wound up scoring 9-0. And Larsson's come back and done that a couple of different times. And it seems as though, Gary Hooper would make comments to the press like, oh, it's brilliant being around him and just, the knowledge just oozes off of him. And then he goes on and has, several good games. Why don't we have that type of coach in? I mean, I'm not saying, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if Henrik doesn't want to come back and play second fiddle to Neil Lennon or whatever. Okay, that's reality, but Chris Sutton's unemployed. If Henrik would come back, that would be amazing. I mean, there's loads of people, who I think could come in and could work with them and develop. Listen, we don't have a poacher, but we could try and get the most out of the players that we have instead of, just putting them out there and hoping.
Right. No, I'm not, completely, in tune with, the coaching staff and everything. But, knowing that, just finding out now that we don't have, a dedicated, striking coach, that's kind of shocking and surprising. I mean, it's not like, they don't have any money and they're in, third division, football and have to, save the pennies. So that's kind of disheartening to find out.
Yeah, no question. I mean, listen, we can sit around and we can complain about the lack of spending in the transfer window, or spending in areas that just didn't work for us or are not working for us. But the fact of the matter is, we have to work with what we've got now, and we're going to need all the ideas that we can muster at this point.
Right.
So, it's going to be interesting. Okay, we're ready to welcome onto the show, Rev. Hector Bandito. No, it's not Hector the Taxman. It's Hector Bandito from etims.net. And as I referred to earlier, it's probably one of the first online media sources for Celtic that I ever went to and continue to do, to this day. So hopefully, we're going to learn a lot about the site and, it's sort of its formation and, some of the ins and outs, what it all takes. They also have a podcast that's out just now. And, I think it's well worth a listen. Fantastic stuff. And, so let's see if we can get him on the line. And Rev, don't say anything stupid. Oh wait, that's my job, I think. Let's see if we can get him. Hector, are you there? Hector? All right, I don't think it's connecting. See, Rev?
Look what I did.
What'd you do? All right, we're not having a good connection there. We'll try it again here in a minute. Rev, we learned this week about Ticketus. Not Ticketus, but Ticketus. Yeah, we learned a lot about Ticketus. Learned about
Hi, guys. I'm back again.
Oh, there he is. Okay, now we got Hector. So, Rev, put that on hold. Now joining us is the purveyor of etims.net. I'm really excited to have you joining us today. Hector Bandito. Hello, pal. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome, Graham. You're welcome.
Yeah, you know what? I've been wanting to talk to you. Obviously, I'm a listener of the podcast, and as I mentioned, it's probably one of the first websites going back, 7 or 8 years ago that I would go to regularly for, Celtic information. And, obviously, I'm a devoted fan of the rumor mill and, the diary on a regular basis. So I'm just hoping to, get some information about ETIMS and, just learn a little bit more about it, about the podcast and just hear your thoughts and generally.
Yeah, more than happy to talk. I don't know what it's like at your end, but you're cutting out intermittently at this end, Graham. So I'm not sure if it's the same.
It's
back to you.
You're coming through crystal clear, but it's probably the Rev's fault, as is always the case. How are we doing now? Is it coming in pretty clearly for you? Or?
It's a bit better now, Graham. But listen, thanks for the introduction, and thanks for reinforcing the fact that we are very old people who are involved in ETIMS. So thank you for that.
Anytime, absolutely, my pleasure. But you really laid the groundwork for a lot of the sites, that came out, the blogs, the websites, the forums, and especially obviously the podcast, which there seem to be so many podcasts just now. But tell me, how did ETIMS start out?
Oh, it's going way back. Probably must be 15 years ago now. That long ago. There was two guys who started it. Well, one in particular, a guy who the online community will probably know the name God. And just so I don't upset some of the more Catholic amongst our listeners here, it's spelled Gaudd. Well, God is for his sins is from a place called Fife. So that in mind, he's always been quite miserable. So he started what was called the Dog's Bollocks fanzine or webzine. And from that, he started Electronic Tims with Joe. And those two guys had it going for about 12 months, perhaps. And then from then, I get involved. Daisy got involved. Glenn got involved. And it kind of mushroomed from there. And over the case of the next maybe 5-6 years. And at that time, you didn't have the forums where people have now. You obviously didn't have the likes of Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
So for the kind of slightly older Celtic fan, perhaps 30 plus or 35 plus, back in those days, we had a fanzine, an online fanzine, and it was very different. You didn't have immediate information. So things like the rumour mill that Glenn drove with we all kind of chipped in, but he was a guy who sat up till 3 a.m. every Thursday night trying to get it ready for the masses. And
wow. It
was a very different time. And I think the advent now of immediate information, people want it now, they want it yesterday.
Yeah.
It kind of changed the dynamics a bit, but it was a long time. In fact, it was quite scary. I know I'm talking a lot now, so you have to bear with me here, but you did ask the question about it. Way back then, we actually were creating 3 new articles a day, every single day, and it wasn't plagiarising written stuff from the media that day. It was brand new, and that was quite mad thinking back on it, but that's what we did. and from that, people got older. As you can imagine, you start having kids and whatever, and the team that we had then moved off, and some of the guys created Celtic Underground, done a fantastic job there. Others are regular bloggers or are on Twitter a lot, like our wonderful friend Jake. I don't know if you follow Jake on Twitter. Jake the Snake, who
of course.
Yeah, Jake was also one of the guys in ETIMS as well. So right now there's about 6 of us remaining. Not from the start. It's probably only Daisy and I from the start. And on Twitter, there's maybe 3 of us who post on Twitter quite a lot. So you may find there's very different views being posted from the same account, just to confuse people. So that's the gist of what happened with the site. And yeah, we're still going. The diary, Ralph does a great job every day. He painstakingly puts together information. The rumour mill's not the same because of people having information immediate. So what we'll maybe do is every 6 months or so we'll do a special and put it out and collate little bits and bobs in the background that is kind of true, believe it or not. And most of it, as you can imagine, is made up shit. Sorry for
that's the part I like.
Sorry.
No, yeah, absolutely. We're broadcasting over here in America, and it's Unless you're going to talk about giving away free healthcare, people really don't mind. So yeah, shit is fine.
Don't talk to us about politics, Graham. I think if you look at our Twitter account, we've got very strong views.
Yes.
And I think just on that though, I think that's an important thing. I don't hate. Hate's a strong word, but it kind of annoys me at times as some of the Celtic fans. We're a football club and talk about football. Bollocks to that. The history of our club isn't just football.
Thank you.
The history of our club is very political. It's always been about standing up for the poorest in our community, standing up for the immigrants, not just Irish people from the Highlands of Scotland. Then the Italians come in, and then more modern day. So we're not just a football club. That's what makes our club special.
Exactly.
I've gone on a rant now, but it's really important.
No, ran away.
Anyone who says stick to football, basically piss off. We're more than a football club. We're far, far more than that.
Absolutely. Amen. And that's, I think, something that's so compelling for people in this country. Just Tuesday, I'm sitting at an airport bar. I'm about to take off, on a flight to Chicago, and I'm drinking whiskey, and I'm suffering through it. And this guy sitting at the bar next to me, he says, "What are you watching?" I said, "Oh, it's a Celtic League Cup game." He's like, "Celtic?" He's like, "How are you getting that?" And I give him the story about Celtic TV, and then he says, "Oh yeah, that's Scotland, right?" I said, "Yeah." Tell him the story about the club and Brother Walford and the struggle and the rivalry with Rangers and what was entailed with that and what it all meant and what we're going through right now and it was by the end of it he's like, wow, like how do I find out more about this? This sounds great and it's not just about what I tell people all the time. If I wanted to just
listen, Graham, you're still cutting out a lot at my end, so I'm hearing some sentences and you're cutting out. So bear with me if I don't answer the question that you've perhaps fully put to me.
Not a problem. And I'll try and speak as succinctly and clearly as possible. But just to wrap it up, I always tell people if I wanted to support or follow a successful club, I just go and be a Man U supporter. The Celtic is about so much more than just a successful football club. And I think that that's something that's being lost on a lot of people, unfortunately. So.
You're absolutely correct, Graham, and it always has been. I think people who really tap into the club, and that's why I'm such a big supporter. And I'm speaking for myself here. Remember, there's 6 guys on eTims, and you can imagine we've got 6 different views in some matters. Other matters, we agree with each other. But that's why I'm such a big supporter of the guys in the Green Brigade. Because for me, but my day when I was back, late teens, early 20s, we still had the jungle. The Celtic Park,
right,
and it was a place you could congregate. The situation in Ireland was obviously quite intense at the time, so it was very, very political, quite a difficult time. But with the advent of All-Seater Stadium, which was fine, it had to happen at that time, I suppose. But Celtic Park, out with the European games, the big European games, and out with the games against Rangers when they existed, it became a morgue, and this group of guys that came in started off, I think, about 15, 20. It's grew to a couple of hundred. That, for me, is why they're so important.
Exactly.
It's so important to have young people out there who'll put out a message that challenges the establishment, that challenges these views. Because it's easy just to sit back and say, yeah, but we're a football club. No, we're not just a football club. We're far, far more than that. And it's important, if you want to become a Celtic fan, in my opinion, you've got to try and understand what else there is to that, what it means about trying to look after others that don't have an opportunity in life, look after the underdog, try and give people a helping hand. That's what it's about. And I'm proud of what they bring to the club and, big supporter of them.
Fantastic. I can't agree with you more. Hector, let me hang up and I'll call you right back and we'll try and get a more clear line. Is that all right?
You're actually a lot clearer now, Graham. I don't know if something's changed now, but you seem a lot clearer now, yeah?
Let's try and push on then. And to that point, there's so many burning issues just now that I want to touch on here in a minute that I think are challenging exactly what you're describing and what, myself and I know the Rev identify so much with this club is that, what you pointed out, looking after those who are less fortunate, why the club was started and just not being so consumed with, balance sheets. The celebration and the furor that came up from a balance sheet that was, I've never seen anything like it. It doesn't make any sense to me. That's not why I'm a Celtic supporter. I don't understand.
Yeah, you've got a kindred spirit here, Graham. It kind of riles me to a large extent. And don't get me wrong, right? And I'm not naive enough to think the world hasn't changed and the club hasn't, and it's had to change in some ways. And I understand the importance of, making sure they've got a business plan over 3 years, 5 years, whatever it may be. But you're right, there seems to be a section of the fan base now who it's almost as if it's their number one priority is the balance sheet. And I know that sounds pretty strong, and I know I'm probably way off the mark here, but that's how it seems to me. The balance sheet comes first, but I'm sorry, but we're in a strong position right now.
Exactly.
A really strong position.
Yep. Thanks
primarily to, it has to be said, Peter Law making some structural changes several years ago.
Sure.
But then you've got John Park, who's come in. The Scout Network's done a hell of a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
But Neil Lennon ultimately is the person in his coaching staff who has took the guidance from John Park and either said yes or no. So ultimately, Neil Lennon's the person responsible for where we are right now.
Agreed.
And where the profit is. And that's what really gets in my nerves, because we announced, was it £10 million almost profit at the end of June 30th. But the club also, as we all know, sold Victor, sold Wilson and sold Gary Hooper. So that you're talking the best part of £20 million. And we know that doesn't come in straight away. We'll probably get maybe half of that or 2/3 of that up front. But the same thing applies when we're spending money. We don't spend it all straight away.
Right.
We'll pay a half up front or 2/3 up front. So it swings and roundabouts. But I think what frustrated me the most is the club knew how strong that position was. Probably end of June, early July.
Mm-hmm.
You then had 15 to 20 million pounds coming in. And yet, we dithered and dithered and dithered right up until the final minute to get in Pookie. And we got this really kid, Beaton in as well. And you think to yourself, why did we not go out there and say to the manager, you've done a great job with the Scouting Network. The guy, for example, Finn Bogason, who made it clear he wants to come to Celtic, right? Go and get him for £5-6 million and perhaps a creative midfielder. There's £10 million in 2 players. And guess what? We're still sitting with the £10 million profit from last year, brought in 20 from the players we've sold, so we're sitting with an extra £10 million. And as a Brucey bonus, we've got the Champions League money for this season. It just defies, for me, basic logic. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm at a loss myself. I mean, I'm exactly of the same mind as you. And in addition, what I would add is that we still have players that we can continue to sell on for profit. I mean, think about Adam Matthews. We got him on a Bosman.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that many English clubs would probably rate him at least a £3 to £4 million player, and that might be underrating it. If he can get a run of games where he's fit and he can show exactly what he can do, I mean, there's profit to be had there. There's profit to be had from Fraser Forster. I mean, it's not as if this is the end of the line and we need to completely rebuild. But I'm in the same mind as you. Why didn't we spend, listen, I hope that Pookie goes and he scores 50 goals this season. But the reality is we knew from the start that he wasn't a poacher. Neil Lennon himself said so. Neil Lennon himself said that, he wasn't getting all the support that he wanted and that he needed. And it isn't him that he needs to talk to. So we knew we needed that player. And when you see, so much profit being brought in, so much cash in the bank, and then that doesn't even include, like you said, the $20 million coming in from Wanyama, from Hooper, and from Wilson, and we didn't replace. I mean, listen, I can give a pass for not replacing Wanyama. That's a once in a very long time type player. But when you identify a player like Finn Bogason that you correctly point out wanted to come to Celtic, he's available at £5-6 million. Why are we spending £3 million on Pookie when we can spend $3 million more that we have? And bring in a player who, he's scored, 11 goals in 7 games in the Eredivisie? He's
what Peter Law would, in my opinion, what he would respond to that and say, right, the challenge with that is that you can get a £3 million player who fits within our salary ceiling, and we're led to believe it's in the region of £25,000 a week, right? Not get me wrong, obviously that, in anybody's terms, that is good money, but if you then want to pay £5 or £6 million for a player, I'd imagine Peter Law's response would be, but you see, that would break the salary cap. That would take us up to perhaps £40,000 a week. And my response would be, so what? I mean, if every club knows you've got 1 or 2 players at a club, the Barcelona's at their own level, down south, the likes of Manchester United and at Manchester City, every club has 1 or 2 players who get paid that little bit more than the rest. That's, you know what? That's just basic business, not just in football, in anyone's business. And if we get back a few years, Henrik Larsson was getting paid £40,000, far more, maybe about a third more than Chris Sutton and John Hartson. But that's reality, that's life. And for us to hide behind this, but it breaks the salary cap, it's nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. And what frustrates me is so many fans that get sucked into this to believing it. I'm sorry, guys, but the board, in my view, overall are doing a good job, but there's sometimes they've just got to change their mindset and remember we're a football club, we're in a fantastic position, primarily due to the manager and the support who are funding this. Why don't we just give them something back at times? Why don't we just push it out a wee bit? Because having watched the Milan away game, the difference there was that bit of quality in the final third of the field against Milan in the San Siro. And that's what you pay for, that little bit of quality, which could have turned that 2-0 defeat pretty much into a victory.
Absolutely.
Really on top for the bulk of that match. And that's the frustrating thing. It's almost just enough rather than, do you know what, we've got something good here. Let's just go and push it out a little bit. And who knows what that could mean. Could it mean the last 8 of the Champions League? Well, why not?
Exactly. And think of how many panoramic pictures they could sell in the Superstore of us, playing at, the Allianz Arena in the last 8 against Bayern Munich or so on and so forth. You know what I mean? And in addition, Hector, you have situations where people will just shove in your face, well, we don't want to wind up like Rangers. I'm sorry, that argument doesn't fly with me. Rangers went...
Those folks should be strangled. Right? And I make no apologies for that. Come on, anyone with a smidgen of common sense to even mention Leeds United or Rangers, I'm sorry, just get lost. Because that's the extreme. Nobody's asking for extremes. Nobody's asking for Celtic not to pay HMRC, not to pay national insurance and tax.
And you know what?
Nobody's asking that. It's a common sense approach we're asking for.
And I would sum it up with, Rangers went into liquidation because they spent money they didn't have. We're in a situation where we're not spending money that we actually have. That's the frustration with it.
And nobody's asking us to spend £40 million.
Exactly.
What we're saying is, could we give the manager perhaps £8 to £10 million to get 2 quality players that could make a big difference, putting the ball in the back of the net, which, as we all know, at the highest level is the most difficult thing to do.
Oof. You know what? You can put together a rant. I like the cut of your jib. Let's before we get carried away with this, let's get back to eTims. I want to learn, a bit more about the site and about the makeup. Obviously, it's trying to bring together, like you said, several people of sometimes different minds, and but obviously there's a creative element to that, and obviously it takes a lot of work to try and organize that. But what compelled you? I'm interested. What compelled you to get into podcasting? Was it a natural sort of progression, blending, another asset of social media in with the website? And were you a fan of podcasts prior to starting up the eTims podcast?
Yeah, we were quite lazy, actually, to be fair. I mean, we were doing...
I can identify.
We were churning out articles and stuff and match reports and blah, blah, blah. And we thought, new media, it will never last. But, that wasn't... To be fair, that wasn't quite the reaction. It was just one of those things. And I think Desi's the creative spark on the site. He does a lot of the tweeting as well. And we did a podcast. Well, he did a podcast about 3 or 4 years ago. It was very different, though. It was focused on comedy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it wasn't like, us two having a chat or 3 guys having a chat. Yeah. It was ripping the piss out of a lot of things. and I loved that. And I thought that was something very different. But to do that meant getting into a studio and all the hassle that takes, the coordination and everything else.
Oh, it's so much work.
It just wasn't possible. It was a pity because the guys get so much creativity, it's frightening. Yeah. So we just thought, well, you know what, let's give it a blast. And suddenly, before you know it, we've done 20. And we're not trying to go out there and copy anyone else. In fact, the more who do it, the better. The more who do podcasts, the more people who don't create websites like eTims, who just create their own blog and write what they want to write about, when they want to write it at their own pace, then just contact us or any other Celtic fan out there to say, listen, can you give us a retweet for this? Yeah. That's what I see the future. I think it's a wonderful thing. You don't want 3 or 4 giant sites. You want thousands of fans giving their view. And then as a supporter, I can independently look at the guys and think, do you know what? I like his or her style. Yeah. I'll follow them and I'll listen to them. I think that's the beauty of what's happening next. But for us, regarding the podcast, it was just something that we hummed and hawed over it. And then, we thought, let's start doing it. And now I think we've done about, I don't know, maybe 18 perhaps or something. Yeah. And we'd one with Tom Boyd a few weeks ago, which was fantastic. Yeah. We really enjoyed that. But I think unfortunately, it was about 3.5 hours with Tom. I don't think Mrs. Boyd was too happy in the background, But Tom was terrific. And what was wonderful, and the three of us on the site, it was Ralph, Desi and myself who spoke to Tom. Once we hung up and had a chat about it, the one thing we all agreed on was how supportive of Celtic Tom was. You know how in the media, all too often there's many people with a Celtic background who played for the club, but for some reason find they've got to criticise the team and the manager and the support at the slightest opportunity. Whereas across the city, they're the opposite extreme. They never criticise.
No.
And we're not asking for that. But Tom Boyd was that perfect balance. He came out, good time in Celtic's history right now. Everything regards what Neil was doing, what the team's doing, what the support's all about was wonderful. And it was a great podcast. It was something that we're really proud of. It was terrific.
I enjoyed it myself, quite a bit. And I mean, I've heard so many, stories about Tom Boyd going to, for instance, the convention, the North American Federation of Celtic Supporters Convention, which, typically happens every couple of years in Vegas. And so many people had so many great things to say about him, about, just what you're saying, how genuine he is and how much, passion he still has for the club. And it's nice to see that, because you're right. I mean, we saw a great example of what you described. Former players, can't wait to put the boot in today with Andy Walker. I couldn't count on one hand how many times he called George Samaras. He kept calling him George Samaras, how lazy he is. It's just like, just enough. And don't even get me started on the toothless degenerate that, it seems to have a go at Neil Lennon every time he has an opportunity. But
yeah, but people know that Burley's a bit different, because people know his game is to go out and basically court controversy. That's his modus operandi. That's what he's about. Walker's kind of different. Walker's not quite like that. It's just that some of his opinions are shit. That's just how it is. He may have played for the club, but it doesn't mean he can't talk shit.
Too true.
And you listen. I actually missed the first half today. Part-time supporter that I am, I had something I had to do, but I caught the second half. And what really, really annoyed me was when Amido Balde came on, and within 5 minutes, Andy Walker had decided that, number one, his own comment, Baldy's been very lazy. But 3 minutes later, he had actually managed to translate by reading Neil Lennon's lips that Neil Lennon also felt that Baldy was lazy. And that really, really riled me. Yeah. And then about a minute later, lo and behold, bang, bottom corner, goal for Amido, which was terrific. But I've got to be careful what I'm saying here. I think Amido was an easy target for Walker, not just in one way, in regards, let's put it this way. If Amido was a Scottish person from Glasgow who was born and bred a Celtic fan, would Andy Walker have called him lazy twice in 3 minutes?
Right.
I don't think so. Yeah. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. No, I completely understand. Let me ask you: is it yourself? Because you mentioned there's several people that tweet from the Tim's account. Is it yourself that is a supporter of Philadelphia teams for American sport?
EAGLES.
There's your dinner, Rev. Is it just like a high level of intellect and sensibility that has you be a Philadelphia supporter, or was it something else that drove you in that direction?
Well, there's about three of us that tweet, and I'm the one who kind of has a passion for some of the American sports. I was over in a place near Westchester in Malvern.
Oh yeah. That's right where I grew up.
Yeah, I was amazing. Over there about 7-8 years ago. Maybe not as long as that. Yeah, but 7-8 years.
Wow.
And I was doing some work over there. I stayed a couple of weeks working. So I went into Philly a couple of times. And one of the weekends, it was the Eagles at home to the New York Giants. Now, you're laughing, and I know why you're laughing now, right? But back then, I didn't get it. Now, I do.
What do you mean you didn't get it? It was a team in green and white playing against a team in red, white, and blue. It's clear.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Sorry, Rev, what's your team?
It's the Giants.
Oh, it's the Giants, is it? Okay. Well, I didn't understand. Obviously, I know about the different conferences, okay, over there, but I didn't understand the divisional rivalry at the time. Mm-hmm. And so we got tickets, went to the match, got all the guys in the car park several hours before kick-off, with some incredible camper vans, that's kind of Scooby-Doo vans with various Eagles players, all over the side of it. Right. Bikers, we you know what I'm talking about. Bikers, we not just crazy bikes, but crazy hair, and just it was actually, I thought it was fantastic. So I get four of us went to the stadium, and Donovan McNabb was number 5, was the quarterback at the time. Yep. And he was obviously coming towards the end of his time, the end of his time. And there was a few Giants fans there, And what surprised me is that if there's any Scottish people, maybe are Irish listening who haven't been to the States, we're always given this perception that over there everyone gets on well with each other.
No.
Well, yeah. Now, this is from this is from this side of the water. There was always this perception that they kind of sit next to each other and, hi buddy, how are you? Yeah, I'm good, buddy, how are you? It really was an eye opener. There was little pockets of blue Giants fans walking around the various walkways or sitting down, and groups of Eagles fans in their faces with that well-known US chant, arsehole, pointing in their face really aggressively, which I must admit, I found it really amusing, as it changed a lot of my perceptions about it. So anyway, as it turns out, the Eagles lost. They were 20 points ahead and lost a 20-point lead with about in the final quarter and a half. But
thanks, Andy Reid.
Yeah, I kept with them. So Eagles, as you know, it's easy to support a team perhaps like the Patriots or historically the 49ers, who have always done well, but I've stuck with the Eagles. The Giants have been really successful over the last few years, so they're a great team. But yeah, the Eagles, it's the team. Green and white was a bonus. And also, I like baseball, so the Phillies are my baseball team as well. So I adopted them. And the only team that's not Philadelphia that I like is the Celtics, for obvious reasons, at basketball. It had to be the Celtics just at the time. And this was going back maybe 15 years ago. It just had to be Boston Celtics, for obvious reasons.
Good man. Get it up, your Rev. So, but let me ask you this. I was just asking, Rev about this, and I think we talked to Dr. J about this a little bit earlier. But I saw a post on one of the message boards this week that I thought made a lot of sense, and I've been thinking a lot about it. Let me get your thoughts. We have a situation now with our strikers. I mean, we have who we have. The window's shut. It's up to Neil Lennon to figure out a scheme, a strategy, and tactics that are going to give our strikers as many opportunities to score as possible. That they're going to take advantage of what skills they do have, and maybe not rely so much on poacher's instinct, because we don't quite have that. But the point was that we have a coach under Neil Lennon that is pretty much targeted for every position on the park except for the forwards, except for striker. And, when you think back to, several years ago, we played against Aberdeen. I'm sure you remember we beat them 9-0. And the week before, Henrik Larsson came in. And, you hear Gary Hooper and Anthony Stokes talking about, the fact that Larsson just oozes information and experience. And it was so helpful to him, just learning so much from him. And, and he's done that a couple of times since, where he comes in and it seems as though our strikers push on and have, several good games afterwards. Should we be bringing in a coach specifically for that? I mean, if it's not going to be Henrik, I understand if he doesn't want to play second fiddle to Neil Lennon, but Chris Sutton's unemployed at this moment. Or there's loads of people that we could bring in that could just work with our strikers, on a targeted basis, because this is a major shortcoming for us. What are your thoughts on that idea?
I think that's a very, very good point, because it's maybe something that football could learn a lot from sports in the States, for example, because over there, for years and years, you've had defensive coach and offensive coaches, but here in football terms, it's pretty much been the manager, perhaps with an assistant or two assistant coaches.
Yeah.
But you're right, football is such a structure that goalkeepers now have their own coach. Defenders, Mialbi, for example, will work tightly with the back line. To say, right, this is what we want for defending set pieces, or if we're pushing up the field, this is what I want you guys to do. But I think you're spot on. It's an interesting point. Striker is arguably, it's not arguably, Mappy, it's the hardest position, because you've always got at least two defenders up against you.
Yep.
So in modern football is really so tough for guys, which makes Messi's achievements all the more outstanding.
Definitely.
But I don't see why we don't have that, because surely anyone who's played at the top level, if they can give on 10% of information that can make a player better in terms of movement, positional play, link-up play, absolutely. Why don't we go and do it?
Well, and to that point, I mean, we brought in Danny McGrain, which I thought was a fantastic move after Alan Thompson, unfortunately left. I thought that he brought a lot to Lenny's staff. But when we brought McGrain on, all of those defensive maladies that we seemed to have, especially at center half, really seemed to melt away. You saw Calvin Wilson really develop as a player. You saw Lustig, become, in my opinion, at times, probably our best player. at times. I mean, Adam Matthews developed so much, and I can't help but think that is directly because of Danny McGrain's influence. And if we could bring in a similar type, that could work with our strikers, that can only pay dividends. Like I said, we can't bring in, I mean, we can sign all the trialists or bring in, people for a look or whatever, but up until January, this is what we have. So we need to make the most of what we have. And I think we need something. And I think that makes sense, as an idea. But
even if it's not someone full-time, you mentioned Henrik. I mean, I'm pretty sure as a consultancy basis, you could say to Henrik, look, could we bring you in every second week or, for a couple of days just to work with the guys?
I can't imagine him having a problem with that. I can't imagine.
I think working with Henrik, you would get so much more out of working with him for 2 days every fortnight or every 3 weeks.
Definitely.
Than potentially would be some person who hasn't played at the highest level, who could talk about it. But I think at the top level, you've got to demonstrate. Henrik would actually demonstrate what he means by this.
Yeah.
And he gains so much respect just by nature of who he is, that players will just be focused and listening to every single word he's sharing with them. So I'm with you guys. I think that's a top idea, and I'd love to think the club would look to do that.
It's just an idea, and listen, I get the finger pointed at me as I'm negative all the time. I'm just trying to come up with ideas that that seem to make sense. I thought that was certainly a common sense thing going forward. But
that's the difference. That's an interesting point, Graham, about you being negative and me having a go at the Celtic board about not spending money. And for me, that's the key difference between Celtic fans and what happened to our great rivals across the city.
Exactly.
When they were lauding it, there was very few of them challenging David Murray, challenging Walter Smith, challenging their tactics, his lack of nous in the football field, the attacking sense, the money Murray was spending or not spending, the balance sheet. That's why I think Celtic fans, it's terrific, because even in a position of strength, we'll still challenge.
Yep.
And that's the way to do it.
It's in our nature.
And we'll never lose that. And I hope we keep, in fact, I'm pretty confident we will never lose that attribute to always challenge what we think's wrong. Don't sit back and say nothing. If you don't like it, come out and say it.
Right.
And I think it's terrific.
Right, and I'm just honest. I'm not at the wind up, and trust me, there's plenty of times, where I'll come on. I mean, I came on after the victory last year, and it's just I can't wait to celebrate, but I have to be honest. When there's an honest assessment to be made, I'm just going to do that. Hector, thank you so much for coming on and joining us. Hopefully, we can call on you again in the future. It was, just lovely catching up and hearing about ETEMS. Just a couple more questions before we let you go and get on with your evening. I know this isn't going to be a popular topic, but I want to get your thoughts on this, because there was a lot of comment about this and sort of evaluation after the loss to Morton. Another treble, unfortunately, has sort of slipped away at this point. Is that prospect, of another treble slipping away? Is this something almost like a mortal sin for Neil Lennon? That seems to be the latest thing, the latest cross for Neil Lennon to bear. First, it was he couldn't win the big games. Then he couldn't win the games that don't mean anything. Then he couldn't win the league. And then, he couldn't, do it in Europe. And lately, now it's, the last thing, he can't win a treble. I mean, is not winning the treble going to be his sort of legacy if he doesn't do it? I mean, think about the players who've played on treble-winning sides. Johnston, Murdoch, Ald, Larson. We don't have any of those players right now. It's not as if it's easy to win trebles. That's just my take on it. What's your sort of position on this? I'm
going to go against the grain a bit here. The treble's not a big thing for me. It just isn't. I think when we did it before, when Jockstein did it twice, obviously 67, with one of the greatest football teams that ever walked the planet.
Yep.
That was exceptional, because at that time Scottish football was in such a strong position that, and again, this is people just maybe some of the supporters going back and understanding how difficult it was back then. Rangers lost the European Cup Winners' Cup final the very same year in extra time to Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
So you had two teams from the city of Glasgow competing in both of the European finals the same year. You had teams like Hibs, Dunfermline, Hearts, Dundee were all good teams at the time.
Yeah.
They were getting to quarterfinals of European tournaments. So it was a very different time. When Martin O'Neill did it in his first year, Rangers also had a good team. Dick Advocat was the manager. They had spent a fortune, which pretty much, I think, led to what happened over the last
74 million pounds.
But I mean, he did at a time when they had a top team. I think now Neil Lennon deserves criticism when it comes to losing semi-finals at Hampden or finals against Kilmarnock or semis against St Mirren. Absolutely. But for someone to blame Neil Lennon after losing to Morton midweek, looking at the team Neil Lennon picked, right, and it wasn't a second-string team at all. It probably had arguably 8 or 9 of your first-choice players in that team. The players have got to look themselves in the mirror.
Yep.
The manager's told him, he's given, I've no doubt, the same instruction. He's made it clear what he wanted. And if they can't put the ball in the net, I think they had something like 2,000 corners. If they can't convert one of them, and Morton inevitably get that break, I think to pick on the manager after the job he's done, for me, is just petty. And give me the Champions League every year and I'll happily give up the League Cup. It's irrelevant to me. In fact, I would rather Neil come out at the start of the season and said, you know what, see the League Cup, I'm going to play him under 21s and some of the squad players in it. And if the fans knew that, they would then know whether they'd buy a ticket or not. They can make a decision at that point.
Right.
But I would say that's a good chance to blood these young players. Let them play. It takes pressure off him as well, and he can focus more on what's coming ahead next, which is Barcelona, Milan and Ajax. I mean, that's got to be a priority. Not no disrespect, Mortons of these worlds.
Yeah. But that you're right. That is so much more important. I mean, granted, I would love to see another treble in my lifetime, and obviously it would be a fantastic achievement. But we have to temper this with a bit of perspective. I mean, we're not. This isn't. In my opinion, it's not the same as last year. Where we have some players that are. I mean, Pookie's been here for less than a month. We're trotting him out. We're starting him. Baton has been here for a week. We're trotting him out. Roderick's just coming back from an injury. This is early doors in the season. It's not as if we made it back to Hampden and we lost in another final for contentious reasons or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of reasons that went into this. And to be honest with you, I'm with you. I mean, if we had to trade, a League Cup again, to be able to keep some integral players fit to go up against Barcelona and Ajax and AC Milan, then that's a trade that I'll happily make every day. I'm with you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just common sense, isn't it? What I mean? It's like going to McDonald's, isn't it, for your anniversary dinner, or going to the 5-star Ritz Hotel, isn't it? I mean, come on. Are you going to go to McDonald's every single year? Or, I tell you what, give me the Ritz once a year, I'll happily take it. So there's no debate. In fact, people who are getting so upset about it, just take a wee step back from your keyboard for 5 minutes and have a deep breath and just look at the bigger picture here. Yeah, you're right to be pissed off, I suppose, losing to Morton, but is it the end of the world? Come on, calm down a bit.
No, I would take it a step further and say, if when Neil Lennon parts ways with Celtic and his managerial time comes to an end, if he doesn't win the treble, that's fine by me. I think that his legacy is strong and intact. I mean, he's done enough, at this point to warrant, obviously positive feelings looking back. I'm certainly not going to say, yeah, but he never won a treble. I mean, just what he's accomplished has been, just with. Granted, so little to work with. When you compare it to the treble that Martin O'Neill won in 2001 and how much money he had at his disposal, Neil Lennon has had the bare minimum. To your point earlier, I mean, he's been really the core reason, himself and John Park, as to why we're seeing profits like this, as to why we're seeing so much cash in the bank, and as to why this balance sheet is so robust and so strong. To use Peter Lawwell's words. Last question, and I'll let you go. Hector, thank you so much for spending so much of your time, and hopefully we can have you back, at some point in the future. But what are your...
Listen, Graham, sorry, you cut out a hell of a lot there, but I think I caught the tail end of that one. Is that I was about to give it a wrap, yeah?
Yeah, just one more question, and I'll let you run. What are your expectations for the Barcelona game coming up on Tuesday? We're hearing that Messi is now a doubt. He came off with a thigh strain, and Xavi is hobbling around. So obviously that's going to factor into it. But from our position, what are your expectations, and what are you looking for?
Being honest, I'm shitting myself.
Me too.
I think because we beat them last year.
Yeah.
And there's a good case to be made that defeat kind of was the start of their demise.
Yeah.
By their own high standards. People looked at how we played against them, how Lennon set up, which he's not getting a lot of credit for. He was the guy who created a formation that was very different. He had the 3 central midfielders pretty much 10 to 15 yards in front of the 2 centre-backs, because he appreciated, him and his coaching staff, that where Barca play is they like to get Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, and 1 or 2 of the wider players filling that gap, that hole for the give and go.
Right.
And he stopped that space, and he gave the fullbacks as much room as they wanted all night, knowing that very rarely do they cross the ball into the penalty area. Normally they cut it back to the edge of the penalty box. So his tactics over those 2 games were absolutely world-class tactics, and he should be given far more credit for that.
Yeah.
But my concern is that we've made them angry. So if Messi is out, and I mean, the guy's magic. He's for me the best player in the world. He's fantastic. He's why you love football.
Agreed.
Watching Messi, right?
Agreed.
But in saying that, would I be disappointed if he's not playing against us on Tuesday night? Absolutely not, because he's just so good. Neymar's already, you can see the improvement in his game.
Yeah.
By going to Barcelona for a couple of months. Previously tried to do it all himself. Now he understands about the team ethic and the passing, the movement.
Yes.
And what a difference in his game. So if Messi isn't fit, they are still heavy favourites.
No question.
If Messi is fit, it will take an incredible effort. I'd actually say a bigger effort than last year's to get anything from the game. My concern is if they score first and score in the first 15 minutes, we could get a doing. But do you know what? Whenever you write off Celtic, what I found in my time supporting the team, whenever we're heavy favourites, we tend to struggle. Whenever you write us off, and I'm guilty of that, as every other fan is, we seem to lift our game and just do that bit better. Yeah. And I'm not saying we'll beat Barcelona, but it wouldn't surprise me if we were to lose 2-1, because we've been written off by everyone, including most of our own fans. So I'm shitting myself. I'll have my eyes behind my fingers watching most of the match. But who knows? Who knows? You know, he's done it twice before, 2 great games, and maybe he's got another trick up his sleeve. I'd also say, sorry, one final thing. Borikter's an interesting one for this game, because the way Barca play is the 2 fullbacks pretty much play as wide midfielders stroke wingers. So it leaves the gaps in those areas to be exploited. Mm-hmm. And that's where potentially Sammy and I think Borikter could be beneficial if we can keep it tight for the first 25 minutes, because a diagonal ball or a ball down a channel into an unguarded area is something that can be exploited on the very rare occasion we get possession of the ball. So who knows? But you've got to make them heavy favourites. But I'd never write Celtic off at Celtic Park. I wouldn't do it. The record speaks for itself in the Champions League.
No question about it. Hector Bandito from etims.net. You can find them at that website right there, etims.net, and find them on Twitter at etimsnet. All one word. Hector, thank you so much. All the best. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully we can call on you again in the future.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you, Graham, and thank you, Rev. All the best in the future, guys.
Cheers, pal.
Cheers, Dan.
Hello. That's Hector Bandito. You can find them on the website. That was fantastic, Rev. I mean, not especially considering he pretty much agrees with everything we say.
It's nice. Little bit of validation like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's especially considering, there's so many people out there looking to, beat the hell out of me. And not you. You're like the darling.
They're going to be waiting for you when you land next time you go with, pitchforks and fire sticks.
There he is, the Daft Yank. You, come here, ball bag. The cheeky on. Everybody always makes fun of my peacoat. You know what? I'm not wearing the fucking peacoat when I come over this time. All right? I wear a puffy jacket, okay? Just like you guys. I'll, gel it up. Freaking faux hawk. I'll get some, Converse, all right? There you go. Wear some pipe cleaners. Bunch of dicks. No, I'm kidding. I love you. I love you like a fat kid loves cake. I mean it. Rev, let me get your thoughts on this. Another topic that came up. That was a fantastic discussion, by the way. Hopefully we can have him back. He made several great points. And looking ahead to Barcelona, I would definitely say that we say this pretty frequently. It seems as though when this team is as down and out as they possibly can be, Neil Lennon just somehow comes up with that bit of magic. And he gets the result. So that's the thing that's sustaining me. I'm shitting it, I'll be honest with you, and that's what's going to make it so sweet when we beat Barcelona again. It's what made it so sweet last year. Cause it's just unbelievable. And lightning can strike twice. I'm not confident, but I believe it's possible. Not quite sure how, but he brings up another interesting point about excuse me while I die. Obviously we, as a reaction, we always say, well, who's going to be the strikers? Is it going to be Stokes or Pukki? How about neither? How about maybe put Commons in the central channel just in front of, quote unquote, our midfielders? Maybe if we have a bank of 3, and leave Sammy on one side and Bo Richter on the other to exploit that space, and they can act as sort of bona fide de facto strikers, if you will. Just sort of
like a weak 4-3-3 or something. Are you saying?
Yeah. Although, to be honest with you, nah, that's not. Well,
that's a bit too. I mean, yeah, we're at home, but
both of them are shit at defending. Bo Richter's even worse than Sammy. That's just pathetic.
Is it? You think? I mean, I haven't.
Sammy at least will put in a tackle. Granted, he's so slow to go to ground, it's like a submarine, but at least he'll do it. Bo Richter doesn't even put in the effort. I mean, he's like a striker that's sort of playing in midfield. He can't be bothered to track back. Now, it's always been sort of the book out on him. I think he might not be fit as well. So that's gonna leave a bit of a challenge. But I don't know. I'm gonna say 1-1, and I'm going with you. What's your prediction? I already know what it is.
Well. All right, it's a new season, so...
No, don't do it.
All right, 1-1.
All right. Don't mess it up. Doesn't mean it, it doesn't matter if it's a new season. Let
me ask you this. Are you, I guess you're working or you're doing whatever on Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm doing whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying, hopefully, the stars will align and I can make it to Philly on Tuesday.
Oh, look at you. I can't make it to Philly. I'd love to, but that'd be awesome. Take pictures and selfies and tweet them up. Lots of selfies. So what I was just sort of going into asking you, I think I mistakenly said Ticketus, although it does seem to conjure up a similar emotion. What I wanted to say was StubHub. This week, Celtic announced an agreement with StubHub.com. Now, that's something that, for myself, Dr. J, many of the American listeners were familiar with StubHub, what it is and what it's about. I had a very strong reaction to it immediately because of what StubHub generally is. Now, granted, many Americans have had very positive experiences with StubHub in the past. And in certain circumstances, it is. It's a very valuable resource. But nonetheless, the reason why it bothers me is that, one of the things that was so appealing to me learning about Celtic was, obviously the ethics and how Celtic supporters treat each other and how, nobody would rip off a fellow Celtic supporter. Nobody would charge a fellow Celtic supporter more than face value for their ticket. No one would seek to profit on the backs of fellow Celtic supporters. And that was something that I was drawn to so much. Like there's the way things are and the way things should be. And that's the way things should be. And when you get that in reality, when that reconciles, it's something that's very special. Well, StubHub makes that go away, essentially. Mm-hmm. And, in situations where, for instance, we're going up against Barcelona, that's probably the hottest ticket in Scotland, maybe the hottest ticket in the United Kingdom on Tuesday. If you put one of those tickets on StubHub, it's the free market. So you can get whatever you want. You can charge $500, £500 per ticket, whatever. Now, people want to say, well, yeah, but, Celtic supporters can put up their tickets on StubHub for face value. Well, yeah, okay, there's a couple of points, though. First off, StubHub isn't doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They are a free market company, and they're going to take their cut, which generally means there's probably going to be a £5 to £10 administrative cost, inverted commas, with that. So if a Celtic supporter
let me jump in. Have you ever used StubHub before to sell?
Yes.
Okay, because I did too. But all right, I was gonna tell you the fee schedule, but if you go with it.
Well, I'm throwing out hypotheticals. Whatever it is, StubHub is gonna take their cut. So it's not gonna be if a ticket is £28 and you put it on StubHub, you're not gonna sell it for £28. You might put the price up at £28, but then the person's going to have to charge all sorts of admin fees or whatever.
Right. Or you could put it up for $28,
and you take a loss.
You're not going to get $28.
Right. And that's the thing that bothers me. We have to have a middleman now come in and take their cut from Celtic supporters. That's for me, that's unacceptable. I think it's a massive own goal on behalf of the Tory-led board. Fine. You know what? I didn't want to bring politics into it and all that, but it's impossible to ignore it. I mean, this is the Tory mentality. Full stop. Okay? Let's privatize everything because the private industry is much more efficient. Bullshit. They're going to rob you.
Right. With StubHub, it only benefits, I think, two types of people. People that are
flush with cash.
Right. People that got a, well, I mean, from a selling perspective, I think more so, like, the kind of person who wants to, they got like a really great ticket, cheap, like, midfield, whatever, they paid face value, or like a concert, you got front row and you only paid, you got it for real cheap and you want to resell it for 10 times what it's worth.
Yeah, that's called touting.
That person, right. It benefits that person or the person who gets, 10 seats of something and just sells the whole 10 of them on the cheap, in bulk.
But okay, so there's a couple different profiles with this, so it may set up a situation where, that game against Morton, people might have tickets now. Oh, I can't go, so I'll put it up there for £5 or something. I'll get whatever I can out of it. And so somebody can get tickets for £5 or £10, which would be under face value. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But in the situation where, the Barcelona games or the AC Milan games, these higher profile games, you're not going to get a ticket for face value. No. You're not even going to get a ticket for face value plus the admin cost, which we'll just say would be like £10. You're going to have to pay £200, £300, £400, and all that benefits are the rich people. The people who have tons of money and are glory hunters. They can't be bothered getting a season book, but they'll go to like one or two of the Champions League games just to say they've been there. So all these people who say, "Oh, you got to buy a season book," because anybody else who doesn't buy a season book is a glory hunter. Bullshit. This does nothing to weed out or prevent glory hunters. Now, let's get back to the original point. People talking about, well, people don't need to put it on there. Celtics supporters will still put the tickets up there at face value. Bullshit.
Yeah. And then,
bullshit.
No, even if they do, someone else is going to buy it, like, and just flip it. You know what I mean? Like, I can get, whatever great seat, in the corner, 3 rows from the corner flag on the field for, face value. Let's just say it's £30. I don't know. But then they're going to take that and flip it for £60, £80.
Rev, it goes beyond that, okay? I mean, the point you bring up is certainly accurate, but it goes beyond that. People think that there's going to continue to be the same code of honor or ethics going forward. That I put so much stock in, that I have so much admiration for.
Right.
But when you're talking about the internet, okay, an internet exchange where there's nothing personal, okay? You can have Jiggy Boy 88, as your screen name. Nobody knows your face, your name, where you live, none of that. There's none of the accountability that comes from face-to-face interactions, which people would be shamed if they ever tried to tout tickets to a fellow temp. They would be shamed. All of a sudden, that shame is removed when you go on the internet. And I'm telling you, the days of not ripping off fellow Celtic supporters are over with StubHub. And if you don't believe me, take a look at some of the timelines of Celtic supporters on Twitter and what is said to fellow Celtic supporters. Some of, just the vitriol that's thrown back and forth on Twitter. And then ask yourself again. Because the internet removes any sort of accountability and any sort of shame. So, for me, it's a dark day. It's once again the Tory mentality on this board selling out. And selling out the supporters and making, business deals that are shit to begin with from a business standpoint and screw over supporters. It's bullshit.
I wouldn't say it's, that mentality is completely gone, completely over, because you will have people who...
It's gone!
Just, they won't use the site or whatever, but it hurts it, and it's definitely a step back, step in the wrong direction.
No, listen, it goes hand in hand. I keep using this, the Tory mentality on the board. Oh, you know what? We'll only make tickets available to people who aren't dying, for people who have a season book. Oh, and by the way, yeah, we'll make away tickets cheaper for people who have a season book. what do the Tories do? They give breaks to the people who have the most, and then they vilify the people who have the least. So anybody that can't afford a season book, then then they're vilified as glory hunting, lazy moochers. And it's bullshit. I talked to a guy 3 days ago who had a leg injury, had to give up his season book. So now, he doesn't have the same access to the Barcelona tickets. Now, granted, he said he worked in the pools for a long time and he can get tickets. But what if he didn't? Now, all of a sudden, he's shut out and he's vilified. It's bullshit. That's not what Brother Walford, started this club for. It's a disgrace.
And, I don't know the prices for season tickets over there. I'm sure it's not cheap, for a full season, but still, that's a lot of money to ask someone who's young or, has kids or whatever their situation may be, to drop down on a, one lump sum. If it's totally different, if it's, somehow you could have access to season tickets, have a seat reserved and basically pay per week that you go to a game, but to say, oh, all right, up front, 500 pounds, here you go, or you're out of luck, you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's bullshit. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I tried to sell on StubHub before, and first to even use it, you got to pay, like $10 or something like that. Then they take like a 15% cut. And
exactly.
It's
so now we have a middleman that the board did a deal with that's going to rip off our own supporters.
Right.
Fuck that.
So the seller's out the money unless you
Glad I put that swear word warning up.
Unless you're it's a say a 50-pound ticket and you're selling it for 75 to recoup those fees. Then that's the only way you can get even. But if you have a 50-pound ticket and you want to sell it for 50 pounds, you're going to lose, I don't know, 20 pounds easy.
Yeah. But let's all shit our pants when the balance sheet comes out. Yeah.
Right.
Fantastic. Great job. Wow. That balance sheet. I'll tell you, scoring goals for fun, baby. Dicks. Well, we what the hell's wrong with me? We did 2 hours. I got to pee now, so it's probably a good time. You say 2-2. Or no, you say 1-1.
1-1.
Jesus, I almost ruined it. He's got no hair. Did we do this one earlier?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, come on. We got to mix it up here, Rev.
Way to go.
Rev PI. He's got no hair. I like pointing out the fact that you're bald.
It's really all you got.
It's true. It's your credit. Cause he's a skinhead. Rev. A good guy skinhead. A good guy skinhead. Not one of those dicks, that's like the Nazis. Ugh. It's disgusting. He's got no hair. No hair. No hair. Big finish. Wow. I'll tell you what. I don't care what anybody says. I can sing. All right. Rev, thank you for joining me. And all the best with the wedding planning. Who are you guys playing this weekend? You're welcome for last night, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Seattle.
Oh, that'd be
Seattle
tasty.
Away.
That'd be tasty. Oh, Seattle away. That'll be on national television.
It is, yeah, ESPN.
Yeah, every Seattle game that's in Seattle is on national television. What a bunch of
Pretty
dicks.
much, yeah.
Bunch of dicks. But they do pack it in there, man.
Yeah, they're a bunch of Packers up in Seattle.
Yeah, look at you. Look at you with the play on words. There, fella. All right, well, you guys are in the thick of it. The Philadelphia Union beat the Sporting KC Wizards. And, all's right with the world. So, Rev, all the best, and we'll catch up with you soon. Next week.
Coming up next weekend, yeah? Or I think I just cut you off from that.
Well, let's talk offline about that. I got a couple of things. But, yeah. Next week on the show, we're hoping to have a couple of additional special guests. I want to get in touch with some of the guys from New Orleans, talk to them about the convention that's coming up down there. Maybe we'll hear from Myrtle Beach Ball Deep again. Maybe, we'll try and get Yampy on next week, but we're trying to get more of the Americans on here. Did you hear the Ball Deep songs?
I did. They were pretty good. In a bad way.
Get some of this. Huh? Get some of this. Tell me that you want me. Secrets that you keep. When you're talking to Ball Deep. It's kind of creepy. Well, speaking of creepy, this one's creepy. What the hell's wrong with me? Doctor, give me the news. I'm going Ball Deep because of you. We're gonna breach in Myrtle Beach. I'm going Ball Deep because of you. Like, what the hell is like? What is that? What is we're gonna breach in Myrtle Beach? What the hell does that even mean?
What you need to do is when you do songs, you gotta get like the karaoke version.
That's what I did.
Well, I heard singing with that.
Yeah,
that
some of them have singing in the background. You dick. Why don't you put some together? I don't see a Graham song.
Wow. Okay.
Challenge
accepted.
Challenge posed. Come up with a Graham song, you dick.
I think that's my homework for the week.
There you go. All right. Pick me out a winner, Bobby. All right. We've done 2 hours. 5-2. Yippee-yo. Yeah, that's pretty much it. 1-1. Hope for the best on Tuesday. So, fantastic. All right. So, thank you so much to Dr. J from the Ball Deep Celtic Supporters Club in Myrtle Beach. As well as Seamus from the 2nd Street Plowboys CSC just starting up. Rev was going to be there soon. And John Joe, obviously, from the Plow and the Stars. All the best to them with that. And, of course, Hector Bandito from etims.net. I'm Graham Wilson for the Rev. And taking us out, as always, is Shane McGowan and the Pogues. Say goodbye, Rev.
Goodbye, Rev.
And goodbye from me. Hail, hail, and keep the faith. I'm going to go drink some cough syrup.
The island, it is silent now, but the ghosts still haunt the waves. And a torch lights up a famished man who fortune could not save. Did you work upon the railroads? Did you ride the streets of crime? Were your dollars from the White House? Were they from the 5 and dime? Did the old songs start to cheer you? And did they still make you cry? Did you count the months and years? Or did your teardrops quickly dry? I know that it was not to be on a coffin ship. I came here and I never even got so far that they could change my name. Thousands are sailing across the western ocean to a land of opportunity that some of them will never see. Fortune prevailing across the western ocean, their bellies full, their spirits free. They'll break the chains of in the dead of afternoon. We stepped hand in hand on Broadway, like the first man on the moon. And a blackbird broke the silence as you whistled, it's so sweet. And then Brendan Behan's footsteps, I danced up and down the street. And we said goodnight to Broadway, giving it our best regards. Took our hats to Mr. Cohen, dear old Times Square's favourite bird. Then we raised a glass to JFK and a dozen more besides. When I got back